There used to be one at 51st and Sheridan on the northeast corner. It was called Brown Airport, named for the man who owned it. In the 1940s, it was buzzing with airplanes. The landing strips have now been replaced by strip shopping centers and the Park Plaza housing addition. Red Stevenson is a pilot who frequently flew in and out of Brown Airport.
We could be on the runway right here where we're at now. This would have been the north-south runway right here, and the southeast, which was, to me, the most popular runway. And I always remember over here on Sheridan, just a very short distance over here, was the Sheridan Drive-In Theater, and the runway was right on the other side of the theater. And when you'd come over the theater, you'd have to hold high to miss the drive-in screen was so monstrous and everything. If you came in at night, you always had to be careful because you get to watching a movie and forget what you was doing.
All types of planes were using Brown Airport, from P-38s to Cubs. And if you didn't know how to fly, no problem. You could learn at one of the several flight schools they had out there.
There wasn't anybody lived around here. You didn't have any worry about somebody being objection to the airplane noise or anything, because there wasn't anybody lived out here. There was a dairy farm, and I can't remember, it seemed like it was a dairy farm over on that side of the road, and the rest of it was just farmland around here.
They even had a cafe at Brown Airport so that pilots could eat while their planes were refueled.
We are very close to where the main runway would run north and south, and we just passed where the runway runs southeast and northwest. Those were the two runways.
Well, Brown Airport wasn't the only place you'd find runways in South Tulsa. Just 2 miles away, at 61st and Yale, was Commercial Airport. The airport is gone. Holiday Hill Shopping Center now sits where the airport was. However, the main north-south runway is still there. Only now it's a residential street called Urbana. They simply paved over the runway, making Urbana at 61st one of the widest residential streets in the city. Red Stevenson flew into this airport too.
This is the runway, the old commercial runway we're on right now. You can see the expansion joints, so you don't get that if it's just straight blacktop. So at one time, why, if we'd have been in an airplane, we'd have been running for takeoff right as we go down this street here. Yeah, it's very, very wide for a residential street, isn't it? That's kind of neat.
Commercial Airport was a really busy place. In the 1940s, the airport was managed by Marvin Sullenger. That's him on the left. He's deceased, but his wife Faye has a scrapbook of that old 61st and Yale airport.
And this picture was taken from right straight down at the airport before the concrete runways. At the 61st and Yale, here are the runways on the turf.
Because her husband was such an aviation buff, Faye Sullenger took up flying, which wasn't so rare. In the 1940s, aviation schools at Commercial were packed with men and women who wanted to take flight.
And here's a picture of the airplanes that were located at that field. I don't know how many we had, but a lot. And many, many Tulsa pilots learned to fly at Commercial Airport, during the war especially.
Commercial Airport also had its own restaurant called the Cabin Inn. And because 61st and Yale was way out in the country, the airport was surrounded by trees.
The trees at Commercial made it very inviting. There aren't many airports that have that many trees. They just don't.
The airport closed in 1954 and was then developed into the quiet Holiday Hills neighborhood. Many of those who live there now weren't around when it was an airport, but Faye Sullenger will never forget.
I always think about it. I always think about it, and I would love to drive back in there where the hangars were. But I can't be sure of the location of the hangars. There are houses there.
But Tulsa's always been an aviation town. You know, not just airlines, but general aviation, both business. Some of the first business jets were located right here at Tulsa. The oil companies, one thing or another. At one time, I'm of the opinion that we must have had more business jets owners here in Tulsa than any town in the country. Tulsa's always been aviation.